Hello, hello. Good. I'm glad that people are actually getting notifications. That is music to my ears. Happy holidays, everyone. Or whatever it might be. Hi, 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 hi. The thing that's making this a little bit difficult is that Streamlabs will only work on one monitor. Yeah, I know that the voice audio works pretty well. It's just the desktop audio does not, which is unfortunate. But I am about to now. Let's see here. Let's, oh, I hope that I'm. I hope that I'm ready. Yeah. Aye, aye. If only I had candles. Telt? What's telt? Happy holidays, everyone. I've spent it alone and with no sleep. But I've decided that okay, now at this point the music is going to be pretty much non-existent. I don't necessarily want that to be the case. Yeah, like my eyebrows. I had to record something today that was way more important than what I was planning on doing to kind of give a fair chance to somebody, which is included in the title of this. And this is not something that I really want to, this is not my style, really. And, oh, are you, are you proper Scottish? Like, I have like huge, like tons of monitor space, so my camera's here and then everything else is over here. So you're seeing like profile view of me. But how are you guys doing? Oh, I have to alert people. Tell me how you're doing. How's things going? Did anyone get a good present? I didn't get any. I got nothing. Oh, crap. I need somebody to remind me of things sometimes that I have to turn on. I don't have my stream set up in a way that it's already like ready to go, like that everything's set up. Like I have a layout and a format. I don't have that yet because again, isn't this isn't my style. But after the experience that I just had, and the fact that I'm like, you know what, I am way too damn nice. I really am. Um, and I did a tweet that was a thread of them and made my proposal and no response. And then I also was going to make a short video that was essentially kind of the teaser of the whole thing. But I'm like, at this point, there's so many other things that I have to do. And when I make a video, I'm meticulous about it. So I may as well just go live and do this. And it'll really end up doing kind of the same thing. I mean, granted, there's not a whole lot of people in here. It is also Kermis, so that has a lot to do with it. But despite their, and I'm saying that as a collective because that's what I'm having to deal with, since the main person that I'm talking about has blocked me and never talked to me directly. So it's really hard to deliver this message to them. But I have to do it this way. So, as you see in the title, I forgot exactly what I put, but it does have a person's name in it. Someone that I have discussed and pretty much presented in a completely objective manner. They've never mentioned me or had a go at me, which means one of two things. One, that they fully don't realize my involvement, or two, they're scared of me. And the second is entirely possible. Because that's not uncommon. And especially if they realize what involvement I had, which I want to go ahead and say, I'm the person that you would need to take legal action with if that were a thing. So you should probably talk to me. even though there's nothing really to go on. Shanny for Christ. Hi, I'm Lola. I am basically a digital ninja. I am excellent at doing research and looking into things. And objectively, mind you, what I find is information, basically. I forget that you guys just really like hearing me talk. So remind me that you're alive sometimes. But now where was I at? Now I'm like distracted. I don't know if it's understood what you guys think my role in things are, or if you even realize that I play a significant one. That, again, people seek me out specifically for, well, it was because I'm blocked, apparently. I've never said anything rude in there either. Like, not one thing. So either it's just intense fear, who is Shanny for Christ? Well, they do have their own channel. The thing is, though, is that they tend to delete what they upload pretty quickly. And I will say that their content is pretty much limited to just weird, lazy vlogging. I'm going to call it lazy because there's not really anything in it aside from sitting on her bed. So, yeah. And there's nothing that's put together ahead of time. It's only like streamed content. There's no videos that have, required real editing or anything. And for me, that's kind of strange. Hello, Marina. But for me, whenever I make a video, I am very heavy on the research. I also like to be as objective as possible and get multiple sides of the story. And the thing that was basically I'm trying to actually offer a fair chance. And here's what it is. I'll officially state it. Hi, Shanny for Christ. I am going to create a video on you that's addressing something rather specific and something that is relevant to me. And it is the basically victim versus victor mentality, as well as being a survivor. A survivor of on a scale of things, whether it's something that's like an isolated incident, or even for a person that has had multiple incidents happen over a period of time. It's, but it's something that I want to illustrate essentially is how powerful a person really is and how much a mindset plays into that. So that's basically the core of what I'm going for. But I'm trying to do something that you claim no one's really done, even though I disagree with you, is that I'm trying to give you a fair chance and go to the source. You say that no one does. I've tried to. You're currently not even blocked in my room or anything. I've not blocked you on anywhere at all. But you've blocked me. I'm blocked in the live chats. And I've never said anything directly rude to you. So this makes it really hard. But here was also the challenge in this. You say that you are a part of something called the Great Debate Community, which I think is something that was quite some time ago. So, if you see yourself as somebody that is skilled at debate, this would be my challenge for you, especially if you're somebody that has a particular point, argument, or belief that you strongly hold on to. If that is such the case, then you will easily be able to argue the opposite point. It's a practice that people do if they're like in a debate club or they do this in a different capacity, that you get to learn your opponent's own arguments by doing so that you can combat them easier. So this is what I want you to, this would be the subject. You state that basically things outside of you, people, events, everything, that's the problem. That you're being bullied, harassed, whatever, that it's other people. And there's not really been much from within. What I would challenge you to do, and this is the feedback that is often given, is that people are often say that, there have been things that you have done. There's been a role that you have played. Responsibility, the word itself, means that we have the ability to respond. It is our, capacity to basically own something in a situation regardless. So, again, my challenge to you is that you take on the opposite argument and be able to prove it, even if you don't believe it. So this is a practice also in cognitive dissonance. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to even do it myself right now, is that people will often make the statement about me that I'm condescending, arrogant, other things that are kind of related to that. Basically along those terms. The condescending nature and arrogant, and that, I look down on people and such. So I don't agree with that. And I have points for, arguing against that. So if I were to say, okay, yes, I'm going to prove that I am an arrogant person, that forces me to look at how I possibly could be. And it's, well, I overly identify with my intelligence. That's one of the first things that I talk about, is my ability and utilitarian nature. So that's an example. Even though I don't believe that, I still was able to look at a reason and see how people would come to that conclusion. So, if you're good at debate, you can easily do the same. I am regardless going to make a response video to you regarding this sort of thing. So it'll happen either way, but I'm trying to very much give you the chance that, you can argue against points that have been made, things that have been said, how you've been presented, everything. I am giving you that ability. And I am a very objective person. And if I am giving my, editorial opinion, I very much separate that from the rest of the content. So the video will be released on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it would be kind if you could do it within the next 48 hours. That means reach out to me and we talk. Let's see. No. Let's see what early in life, I had to choose between honest arrogance and hypocritical humility. I chose the former, and I have seen no reason. Oh. I mean, I am very confident in myself, but I can see how maybe I overly identify with basically my skill set and what I do. So I can see how that comes across. I get that. But I also, from what I really feel, I tend to get those kinds of statements from people that are intimidated by me. So it's really them projecting their own insecurities onto me. It tends to be the case. Because ultimately, we cannot make people feel a certain way. And people tend to argue with that, in which case I'm just like, well, if I can make you feel a certain way, I would make you feel incredibly generous towards me right now. If you could make people feel a certain way, why would you go for pissing them off all the time? That seems to be a really negative way to live. So I would go for something that seems to be rather beneficial. Yeah, a lot of people didn't really understand me and where I was coming from until they watched like 2 of my videos at least. Because they only knew me identified as the hacker. Which fortunately, this is all flipping for me, and I'm I'm stoked about that. I just really hope that, a lot of opportunities and like possibilities for opportunities have come up for me, and there's not been much follow through. But with what I've been presented, it's clear that these are people that actually get shit done. So I'm hoping that that'll make a difference. The other thing that I wanted to move from And this is something that I have to be a little bit more honest about. This is the whole transparency thing, is that I've not been honest about my wellness and overall like state of being for the past 2 or 3 months. Actually, this is starting to distract me, so you guys can't really hear it anyway. I haven't. I'm a person that is very scared to ask for help. I'm somebody that feels that I will be shamed for it, or in worst case scenario, if the situation requires such, seen as e-begging. Because there are people that will misuse platforms and not be honest about what's going on. And I've been pretty forthcoming about my past and kind of how things have developed for me and why I struggle. And there's something that I haven't I would just suggest refreshing the page. I don't know really what else to tell you. It's the best I can do. As long as it comes back, you're good. But I've had to be honest about things, because if it gets to a point where I'm rather compromised, I have to say something, because I don't have family, essentially. I don't have close friends that are like nearby. I have one person that's local to me that I see, that is somebody that I trust, that even gives a shit about me. So really the people that I interact with are those that are online, and it's a pretty isolating kind of existence. What's gone on that's been significant in the past 3 months has been that I've been in a rather toxic and possibly, I hesitate to say one word, but definitely toxic environment, one that is kind of torn me apart. And the reason for that is that it surprises me that there are people that still don't understand PTSD and the effects that it could have on a person, and how selfish and self-centered a person can be to refuse to acknowledge that someone really may be struggling and having a hard time. Yeah. So essentially the situation was that I live in a house, um, and technically I'm supposed to have two roommates. Well, at some point, um, one of the two roommates are a couple, and the uh, male roommate, I'll just refer to him as Jay. His mother had started to have ill health, and he was like, look, she's, we're getting some tests done for her, and while that's happening, she's going to be, staying for like a weekend or so, off and on. Just, are you okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I hope everything's all right. And she received a diagnosis of dementia. And of course, there was, I think he kind of knew that was coming, but he was really concerned and worried about it. And I don't think that he was prepared or really knew what to do. So I tried to be as understanding as possible, and I was. But it got to a point, though. There was what happened in August, which is where I got really financially dicked over. And that was basically the start of me having financial instability. That's on my Ko-fi page. for supporters only, because it's a significantly in-depth video about that. So if you want to know that, that's where it is. Um, so that happened, and I was alone and didn't have support. And then I had a roommate that was stressed out and couldn't do anything. Um, and so I'm set back financially. And then basically, I received the news from him later on that his mother is just going to move in and be in the extra bedroom, which really is basically taken up with the girlfriend stuff. So, but yeah, the mom's moving in. It's just told to me. There's no discussion. There's nothing held. And it's not that I had a problem with that happening. I had a problem with the fact that my I wasn't taken into consideration as far as, like, how it would affect me, or just the respect of simply, having the courtesy to care enough about my well-being. That bothered me a lot. And I have a thing where I question how I respond to situations. And I definitely did in this one, because I'm like, something's not right. And he's been previously a pretty reasonable person, and he's not being, it seems. So my Ko-fi page is what trying to it's up there. It says support, and then it has the link. That's what it is. Ko-fi. It's basically kind of like Patreon, but it's like a one-time thing. And I just set up goals on there that I try to meet instead of doing something monthly. So that's essentially what it is. But yeah, any hoots. He decided to just have his mom move in, and I wasn't told about it. And so that means that there are now 4 people in a very small 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom. And the common areas are not places that I even have any of my things. I'm basically just isolated to my room, and that's it. That's the only space I take up in here. And there had already been issues with the girlfriend. She basically doesn't clean up after herself. She's a slob. She's a damn slob. And I brought it to my roommate's attention. I'm like, look, we need to talk about this situation here, because I have a bit of problems with it, especially after I talk to people and they're like, I wouldn't have let her move in. Like, you didn't sign up for that. I'm like, good point. I didn't. I definitely did not. He's like, yeah, he can't just move people. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't just be able to move somebody in. This seems completely unreasonable. Like, what? But I mean, the thing is that ultimately, as a person, I would have been like, yes, you know, this can work out, but let's talk about condition. Like, let's negotiate. So I had to have that conversation with him and say, hey, we need to sit down and talk about this because you didn't with me. And I made a statement in there when I was talking to him that he took very offensively. First off, whenever we started talking, he was very closed off, not receptive to me at all. Like, he really did not want to have that conversation. And I said, look, what I'm about to say is going to seem and sound really rude, but I can't think of another way to put it. But essentially, your situation right now is going to affect me because this is my home. This is my space. This is where I should be able to feel comfortable. And, essentially, this is not really my problem. Because but you're kind of making it you're making it something that affects me. So because of that, think about that. Like, this isn't something that I would actually have to agree to. And I'm doing this because I'm being considerate and kind. So what I asked, the proposal I made was that she contribute $100 a month. That was it. That was literally it. Because I'm like, $100 a month. Because of course another person is going to affect the utilities and such. And that was it. That conversation ultimately made it to where me being in my house turned into a nightmare. I've had no compassion or understanding or anything from the people that have been living with me, to the point that the girlfriend has never once had a conversation with me, doesn't know anything about me, has done nothing but complain about me, doesn't know what I've been through, doesn't understand my mental illness. And there was even a note on my fridge, because I have what's called psychogenic seizures. Those are basically non-epileptic seizures that are brought on by periods of extreme prolonged stress. And it looks and feels exactly like a real seizure, but it's not a misfiring of neurons. That's not the same thing, but it's going to feel the same way. And if I'm stressed out for long enough, I'm at risk for having them. And I had a note up on the fridge that explained what that was, what can cause them, like what were my PTSD triggers, and then what to do in case I had a seizure. The basic instructions of, roll me on my side, make sure there's nothing close to my head. If it lasts for more than 3 or 4 minutes, call 911. What set me off was that I looked and I saw that the note was removed from the fridge. Like, the instructions to possibly save my life are gone. Why is that no longer important? And were replaced with a post-it note that was basically bitching and at me, and said something about don't eat their food, which, before the girlfriend started being a complete bitch, we had a communal rule. And after a while, we no longer did. So basically feeling like the need to bitch at me about food was more important than possible instructions to, help me avoid brain damage, that set me off and felt like I basically didn't matter anymore. And on top of that, with a person that financially put me in a situation where I almost lost my doctor, I felt for several months that I was not worth helping. I felt completely worthless. And I started to withdraw pretty heavily. I then had him basically say, like, because my finances were all screwed, I had been having excessive stress, so my ability to even try and make money was really difficult. I was late on bills, and I hadn't been late on bills or utilities for years. And one day he said to me, he's like, if you don't pay me $200 by today, I'm cutting off the internet to your room. What? So I panic. I absolutely panic, because that's basically my ability. Like, that's how I work. That's my connection to everything. I went into an extreme panic. Um, all of the money I had was supposed to go to my doctor that I was desperately trying to keep. And then I had to try and somehow get more and send it to him. I basically just felt worse. And I really started to kind of hate myself for a moment there. I started to feel like I was essentially a burden on people, that I've tried to ask for help, and either I've hesitated in doing it or I've been really like sheepish or something when I've tried to. The fact that I had somebody that literally said that I was like family to him and then leave me in a situation where on the year date of my assault, I didn't have the resources necessary, and they called themselves a mental health advocate. Then followed by the people in my household being individuals that don't care about my emotional well-being because I asked for a compromise. I voiced my feelings on something. I started to feel kind of like nuts. I felt nuts. And I wasn't able to, it's hard to kind of describe the rest of it, but basically it's been pretty much a nightmare, and I even had to tell the actual homeowner about it. I'm like, "Look, you know, I understand that my roommate is the main one on the lease, but he's essentially abusing his power." And for the month of December, I wasn't able to pay rent, but I went directly to them and I said, "Look, this is my situation and this is what's happened. What can we work out?" And fortunately, she actually had compassion and worked something out with me. And I just told my roommate, I'm like, "Look, I've already handled my portion of the rent with the homeowner, so you don't have to worry about mine." But now on Monday, and here's what I'm looking forward to, and here's what I'm excited about. That's the thing is, I am trying to, I found I have a new place to live. I have a new place to go to. I'm very excited about it. But it's been so hard to try and get back on my feet. And being and trying to do it on my own, I have to admit that I can't. That I do need help from people. And I've felt ashamed to say that and to talk about it. But I have. I've posted things on Twitter. I've posted things on the Ko-fi page about it. Um, and I've worked it out so that the expenses are minimal. I also was able to find an answer that's basically treatment for my PTSD and the ability to start getting it. That's huge. It's huge for me. So I've been basically trying to tell myself that I'm worth it enough to ask for help. I'm worth it enough to put it out there that, I am struggling, but I have a plan. I This is all going towards important things. But then you have people like Amberlynn Reed who, do things like run a scammy GoFundMe and then screw it up for people that genuinely need the help. That's what makes me feel ashamed. That's what has me hesitate. The fact that the person who actually does owe me money called me a scam artist and then replaced me with a literal child molester. It's kind of like, do you think that maybe it was worth it to keep me around now that this has happened? Do you think that maybe I was kind of doing a good thing for you? Is the $250, $300 that you owe me, was with was that not worth protecting three girls who got groomed by a child molester? Oh, I said it. Um, I don't anticipate, um, because of the fact that I actually am being able to move out. Um, and I have a place to move to. I have the calculated costs of moving, and I've recently posted that. It is, I mean, it's not much, but it is still something. But the thing is that I also have things lined up for what I plan on doing. Because the whole point is to get me in a place where I can start working. I want to start returning back to my life and working. I had been trying so hard to be able to do that, and it wasn't happening. Um, like right now, I know that I don't have very many people watching because it's the holidays. I get that. And also, the point of it was to officially make my invite that Shanny's not going to reach out to me. But the fact of the matter is that I did make it. I made it in two different ways, publicly. So I'm allowed to voice how I feel on something and to utilize, you know, something as a potential comparison for explanation, and then also, you know, if people need help regarding that specific kind of thing, to show them that there are options for it and what they are and how easy it is to get them. So then at that point, the ball's in your court. Whether you continue to decide to be the victim or not is up to you. If you have all these things around you that you can utilize to help you and you don't, that's on you. So I'm gonna even provide that, and relevant to your area even. So it's up to you if you take advantage of that. So, and the thing is that I know that the habit that you have, it's that, you know, you make choices in your life, and the choices you've made so far, is that really working out for you? Because mine aren't. And I decided to make a change. I decided to put that effort forward. I decided to stop fearing judgment from asking for help. Especially after I saw the fact that you can just eagerly and with no problem spend $1,200 at Torrid, but say that you aren't seeing somebody about trauma. That amount of money would literally allow me to change my life. What you spent on clothes. And that broke my heart. So think of how you might come off to others, that there are certain resources for them, but they can only go so far. Like, the local advocacy service here, I asked them, I'm like, hey, you know what? You guys have pretty much failed at doing anything for me. So tell you what, how about you just give me a ride to my actual doctor? That's one thing you can do. They wouldn't even do that. They wouldn't do it. So honestly, if I'm gonna drag somebody, it's actually gonna be the advocacy service that's closest to me, because that shit needs to be called out. That's something that affects people that, are trying to make choices and they're not doing a goddamn thing. So yeah, ladies, I'll knock over tea for that shit. Yeah, I've put that out there. I've asked for help. It's also fearing that people wouldn't trust me with it, and basically, if people tip to my Ko-fi or coffee account, I list the expenses of everything. I say exactly what they are. It's like what they cover, what they are, everything. Um, because basically right now it's the cost of a U-Haul and my first month's rent, with also money for food until I'm able to get emergency services to cover that. That's what it's going towards. And then I break down the cost of the treatment that I'm getting, and I take it slowly from there while I start building myself towards being able to work again, and also making sure that I don't miss an amazing opportunity that I've been presented. I do not want to continue letting my present suffer because of my past. That's what happens when we basically have a victim mentality, is that we live in our past and let that dictate how our future might be. We limit ourselves for our potential the moment we do that. Which is why I don't like saying that I'm a victim, even whenever they use it in the legal sense. I don't like that. I like the term survivor, that I lived through something, because I did. I survived something that should have killed me. And I want to keep surviving so that people can be like, oh shit, if she made it through that, I could probably keep going. And I don't have a GoFundMe, so it would be on the other. The link is, I should have removed the starting soon thing. That's tacky. Hold on. Crap. There we go. Done started. So yeah, the page that I'm talking about, it's kofi.com/the Lola. I put content on there. I share things when I can. Again, it's not like Patreon where it's a, monthly tier thing, because you know, recently, and over the past several months, everything has been so unstable for me that I didn't know if I could follow through with something. There is the option on Ko-fi to change that to a monthly thing, but there's not a tier system. But regardless, it's really just the point of helping me reach my goals and helping me do what is possible. And then, because I also want to show what happens when somebody, yeah, sure, you can screenshot this. I'm probably not, after 2 days, I'm probably going to make this unlisted, because this is not really the kind of content that I want to keep on my page as content. I'm really particular about what I do with that, but it's not because I'm ashamed of the video or anything. It's not really that. But I've got 2 live streams back to back, really, that are just me yapping. So Would rather that not be the case. But yeah, I'll have a video coming out Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've given Shanny for Christ the opportunity to reach out and talk to me, but alas, they want to say that I'm going to be instead contacted by their lawyer, which, by the way, I happen to know a lot about civil litigation. I've had some experience with that. If you want to actually sue me in any capacity, you have to find a lawyer that's in my state because it has to be in the state of the defendant, actually. So, you need to find one that's in Florida. So, whatever lawyer you have is completely useless. Just letting you know. Um, I also tried to. The reason I don't have a option for PayPal is because that there's privacy concerns with that. So, Panda, if you do need that as an option, message me and I'll work something out with you. So, yeah, Shanny and Rev, you need a lawyer that's in my state if you plan on doing anything. And at that point, you have to have at least a few thousand to really start any case. So, yeah. Just giving you some legal advice there. Not that, I mean, this would be an entire waste of time if you got a consult or anything. They're going to tell you if you don't want that kind of thing shown, don't commit a crime. That's a really easy way to solve that. Don't commit crimes. Don't break the law. If you don't break the law, then there's no body cam footage. Life hacks. Bye, Marina. Thanks for stopping by. So yeah, life hacks. If you don't want that kind of, if you don't want people potentially showing you looking shitty, then don't be shitty. Such an easy way to solve it. So, to avoid anything coming out about me that looks incriminating, I don't do anything that's incriminating. You know, I'm transparent. I treat people with respect. If I don't like someone, I just kind of avoid them. Or I try to handle things as civilly as I possibly can. And I'm really just way too nice, even though apparently I'm condescending and arrogant. But understand that for... I really don't want to speak for other survivors, but I feel like with the kind of work that I've actually done for them, such as helping them with legal cases and volunteering for advocacy programs, I feel that this is accurate when I say that when you spend that kind of money, show it off, and then say how miserable you are and how everything in your life sucks, and then realize how that could go towards things for your betterment and wellness, and you don't do it, it's a slap in the face to people who don't have that opportunity. Because I remember this. I think I added up how much you spent on halls, and I think it was over like $3,000. None of which, you didn't need any of that. None of it. Like you didn't need any of that. But apparently it seems that you need some kind of help, and that's per you. That's per things you've said. I mean, really, I've been the most objective, I think, so far with, what I've presented and said. It's just basically literally your own content. Literally your own. Everything was completely public. So you have to think about, and this is what I said before, freedom of speech does not equal freedom from consequence. If you can't handle the consequences of what you're saying, don't say it. Or understand that there might be a time and a place. And also, here's an N word that might be better for you to understand. Are you ready, people? Nuance. Oh, why is she bringing that up? Why is she bringing up the word nuance? Well, nuance represents the variety of things that something can be interpreted as or mean. That when there's nuance in a situation, that there are, I guess, multiple implications and things that are applied to it. Shan. Good way to put it, Ralph. Excellent way to put it. But yeah. Actually, I'm gonna refrain from any sort of sassy comment so that I can still stay as, avoiding those. But yeah. Um Also understand that as far as, you know, bullying, harassment, and just being offended. Actually, let's just go ahead and let's put just harassment and bullying together and just say harassment. Because if somebody's bullying you, you're an adult, you have a block button. You also have the ability to selectively, decide where you want to post your things, the level of interaction, etc., etc. But also understand that when you put it on a public platform in which the whole point is to comment and engage, that people are going to do so. That's just a thing. But when we talk about harassment and offended, there's a difference. Just because you're offended doesn't mean that you've been harassed. Again, you ultimately decide how you want to feel about something. Harassment is something that goes beyond your control. If you're able to control something and ultimately remove yourself from it or pick a different choice and that not follow you, problem solved. But if that still follows you, if that person is still bugging you no matter where you go, even if you've privated things, then that's something different. But if you're just offended, if your feelings are just hurt by somebody saying something, understand that in order to think, in order to have unique cognitive ideas and concepts, we must risk being offensive. Because at no point is something that we're going to say not offend at least one person out of, I don't know how many, but, there's no way that everybody is going to not be offended by a statement. Someone out there is going to be offended. So understand that in order for us to propose ideas and think that we risk being offensive to someone is going to feel that way. Someone is going to even take the level of being offended to a level of outrage. And we really have to pick our battles with that one. Otherwise, we start to really trivialize the real issues. We start to trivialize what's genuinely important when we're just, you know, basically bitching and moaning about the most, like, the tiniest of things, which is why, again, I'm very selective of the kind of content that I put out there. And why I feel it's important to, again, explain that you have the choice. That ultimately, and I'll end on this because I have been rambling and going on for a while. I'll end on this. Your commitment to your current state of mind, and situation is incredibly strong. Your commitment to doing that thing and keeping it up is really, really strong. Of what you've said and how you've looked at life. The stance that you've chosen to take. And the way that you've chosen to look at it and handle it. You've been so rooted in that. Now think, if you took that same amount of dedication and dedicated it to not feeling helpless, but the possibility of being empowered and showing that, you know what? This is something that I can genuinely go forth, that I can make a change in my life. That would be mind-blowing. You have that potential. That's the thing. You're so dedicated to what you're doing right now that if you simply made a different choice and showed as much dedication to it, you would see results and be like... And with that, the amount of discipline added to it, because you can do anything. You can try anything for 1 month. You can give everything, at least 1 month to try out. You can. So here's the thing. The ultimate way to really say, yeah, I am such the victim and it is everybody else's fault, is to basically do that and see if you can still feel the same way. Because here's the thing. You're going to claim that I know nothing about you in your life or whatever. I do know quite a good bit. But likewise, I will share some things though. And some of these are going to come as a little bit of a shock. Thank you, baby Jane. I appreciate that. I try to make things a little bit more cohesive, and this is not my standard. But the other day I found out that the school I went to, what was essentially supposed to be my high school, which is why when I responded to you and you stated that, that whoever was watching the video didn't receive the level of education that you did, basically insinuating that you were more educated. And I responded to you, I highly doubt that. Because for me, that would be true. Even though the school that I went to had a very severe consequence to it, I was sent to a school that was a cult. Great education, but I was in a cult for 3 years of my life and unable to leave an isolated part of the desert. I later, and I mean just days ago, because this still has me shook, one of the founders of the school that I went to also founded an organization that offers like accreditation for these particular kinds of schools. Kind of similar to like the ranch that Dr. Phil sends kids to. but mine was a little bit different because of the cult thing that was secretly involved. One of the women who found that, not the actual founder, but like the next person, there's a YouTube video of her being brought in front of Congress and being addressed by Congress about their organization and why there have been thousands of reports of abuse and death from their accredited schools. That literally Congress fucking goes at them and they're like, what exactly are you qualifying? Because it certainly isn't the right to breathe. That's where I spent my teenage years. So there's one thing. It was an offshoot of Scientology, actually. The cult teachings that were involved in my school was something called EST, or the Landmark Forum, founded by Werner Erhard. So if you guys want to look that up and get into that mess, but be cautious. A lot of, like Scientology, a lot of the material that's regarding EST and Landmark is, they've got a lot of money. They've got a lot of money to shut people up. So it's really hard to find like criticism of it. So you will struggle to find criticism of it, but try to look for that. As well as its reference in like cult education websites and that kind of thing. Because those programs weren't even meant for teenagers. That's not who that was even for. And then the founder of the school added her own wacky bullshit to it, making it worse. Like, we had girls that were put in isolation, stuck in a room with nothing but a light, a book, and a pencil. That was it. It was called Silence and Separation. They were allowed either, sometimes they brought food to them, or sometimes they allowed them to walk to the cafeteria, but they weren't allowed to make eye contact with anyone or talk to anyone. That was the severe form of punishment. It was really messed up. Unfortunately, I do know not a lot of, but I do know like a handful of larger YouTubers, and I have the ability, like there's one that I'm very thankful is touching on this particular kind of topic, and is allowing me to tell my story behind it, because this place has never been called out. A lot of people don't know about it. And I want to be able to save that for the actual video that will be made, but fuck it, I'll just go ahead and tell you. Look up on YouTube, NatSap, as in, I'll just type it up. Oh, I already had caps on. Those words. It's the organization NatSap brought in front of Congress, and then the woman that's talked to is Jan Moss. Now, if you look at just NatSap in Congress, it'll show you other clips that doesn't include Jan Moss. The reason why Jan Moss is relevant is because that was a person who was a part of my life for 2 years. That was somebody who got to decide how much of my freedom was taken away on a weekly basis. So go look at that spawn of Satan. There's also been, you know, women that are no longer alive due to addiction, complications with eating disorders, or just simply flat out taking their own lives because the treatment that we got from that place was not effective treatment for what we had. An example of that is a young woman that went by Jess Vogel. She made it onto Hell's Kitchen. There are clips of her with Gordon Ramsay. Um, Jess Vogel. Look that up. You'll find her. That's somebody that both her and I were. We would sometimes have to be watched, like as we ate, to make sure that we would finish eating. Yeah, that's about all I'll go into as far as the. Oh no, someone shows up as I'm about to shut things down. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. But yeah, so points covered. Basically, my invite to Shanny, which I doubt it's going to actually be, that's not going to happen. Even though it's incredibly reasonable and there's an interesting point to be made. As well as what's been going on with me and the bravery and actually asking for help. Because I see people asking for certain things and I'm just like, if they're able to do that for this sort of thing, I should probably be able to. It might make sense that I want my life back. That I want to move out of what I feel is essentially an emotionally abusive household. So, yeah. Maybe if I were to do live streams, it's because they have a specific point and I want to have a particular topic in mind. Well, Ralph, this is me asking for help. If you want to contribute or donate, visit my Ko-fi page. There's material that I put on there that's for supporters only. It's literally like $5 and that's it, or you can decide to donate more than that if you want. But it's just in helping me reach my goal. And right now, the one that I really just want to reach is enough for me to be able to safely move. Thank you, Ralph. I really appreciate it. To be able to have the U-Haul, and I'll double check on the cost of that. The U-Haul, and then what would be like my first month's rent, which is very, very cheap, and some food. And then I have gigs and jobs lined up, and will be in a happier environment to start doing content again and not feeling like I'm being judged or trapped in my room. So, I appreciate it. Thank you. I also, as I receive help to be able to get EMDR therapy, I'll be sharing what that experience is like and how far I get. I'll be willing to share that and talk about it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and depart. I've not been sleeping regularly. I actually didn't sleep all of last night. I've been up all of today because it was important for me to put together basically what's a what was it? I can't think anymore. Basically like a video resume for something. So I'm gonna go ahead and go, but Yeah, and I mean, my partner is willing to put in some, but I mean, he's not in a position to cover something significantly. He really can't. So this would be my Christmas present. I just want to move. I just want to move. I just want to be somewhere where I feel safe and okay and not judged. So yeah, I'm gonna depart. I'm gonna watch some happy things for a moment because I actually feel kind of depressed, and I've been having to watch rather depressing things all day. Um, so thank you guys for who have tuned in to watch. I know that it's been lengthy and that yeah, I'm just gonna keep rambling on. So video Saturday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If that changes, I will let you know. Subscribe if you want. My Twitter is up there, Discord handle, Kofi link, everything. So I will talk to you guys later, and I'll only leave this up for about 48 hours. And then I will make it unlisted and just put it on the Kofi. So, toodaloo. Bye, everyone.